I came home on my 24th birthday to hear, no store-bought cake, no celebration. Your sister needs all our focus this year. So that night, I packed my bags and vanished. Years later, I'm a millionaire, and now they're all begging for leftovers. Can you believe that my own family, the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, decided to throw a lavish engagement party for my sister on the very night of my birthday, completely erasing me from their lives? That night, holding a pathetic grocery store cake, I discovered just how deep their betrayal went, and it shattered my world into a million pieces. I remember pulling into the driveway of my childhood home, my heart buzzing with that nervous excitement you get when you're about to turn a new age. 24, man. I was holding this slightly lopsided grocery store cake, the plastic happy birthday decoration all crooked. Honestly, it wasn't much, but after weeks of grinding out double shifts at the warehouse, it was all I could swing. Still, it meant something to me. I'd been dreaming of this simple family gathering for months, picturing my parents singing, sharing old stories. But as I walked up those familiar concrete steps, something felt off. Through the front windows, I saw a flurry of unusual activity. Before I could even knock, my mom, Margaret, yanked open the door. Her face? Stone cold, dismissive. She glanced at my humble cake, a look of visible irritation flashing in her eyes, and then she dropped a bomb that instantly froze me. No celebration this year, Frederick. Your sister needs our complete attention. The sheer indifference in her voice was a physical blow. My stomach bottomed out. Just like that, I was invisible. Utterly, completely invisible in my own family. Standing there on the doorstep, holding that rejected cake, it felt like someone had punched me square in the chest. My mom just turned away without another word, leaving me rooted to the spot as the brutal reality of her dismissal seeped in. Inside, I could hear frantic preparations. My dad, Thomas, was barking orders about flower arrangements, and my younger sister, Jessica, was directing caterers around our living room. Through the screen door, I saw elegant white and gold decorations going up, expensive floral centerpieces, my family buzzing around like they were prepping for a royal wedding. Then, Jessica emerged from the kitchen. She was wearing this stunning emerald dress that probably cost more than I made in 2 months. Her blonde hair was professionally styled, an elaborate updo, and she had on diamond earrings I'd never seen. She spotted me through the door, rolled her eyes dramatically, and just walked right past me. No acknowledgement. Nothing. The contrast between her glamorous look and my simple work clothes. I felt like an alien in my own home. So, I trudged upstairs to my childhood bedroom, still clutching that stupid cake, feeling more alone than I ever had. The room was exactly as I'd left it years ago, faded basketball posters, my old blue comforter on the twin bed. I sat there on the edge of the bed, staring at that grocery store cake, wondering, how had I become so utterly irrelevant that my own family couldn't spare 5 minutes for my birthday? Downstairs, the party roared on. More guests arrived for Jessica's engagement party. I recognized the voices of aunts and uncles I hadn't seen in months, all laughing, congratulating Jessica on her upcoming marriage to Brandon Walsh, some hotshot attorney from the wealthy side of town. Not a single person asked about me. No one wondered where I was. Restless, hurt, I decided to pack some things and head back to my tiny apartment. As I pulled my old duffel bag from the closet, I accidentally knocked over a shoebox hidden under Jessica's old bed. Contents spilled everywhere. My blood ran cold. There were official-looking documents scattered across the hardwood floor. Bank statements. They showed that my college fund, a fund that should have held $37,000, had been completely emptied 3 years ago. The transfer records were undeniable. The money went directly to Jessica's private art school tuition at Westmont Academy. My parents had lied to me. They'd told me the fund was lost in bad stock market investments when I desperately needed money for community college classes. For 3 years, I'd been working warehouse jobs, living paycheck to paycheck, believing my education fund had just vanished due to their poor financial decisions. But these documents revealed a far more devastating truth. Jessica had received a full academic scholarship to Westmont Academy. My stolen college money had paid for unnecessary expenses while she attended school for free. The scholarship letter was dated 6 months before my parents claimed my fund was lost. They had deliberately lied, manipulated me, and transferred my money to Jessica. My hands trembled as I found more evidence of their deception. Birthday cards addressed to me from both sets of grandparents over the past 5 years. They'd been opened, hidden in this box. Each card held cash gifts, $50, $100, $200, totaling over $2,000. Money I never received. My parents had intercepted my birthday presents, apparently spending the money on Jessica's needs and wants. The final blow came when I found a handwritten letter from my late grandfather Robert. It explicitly stated that his vintage car collection should go to me upon his death 2 years ago. 3 classic cars, worth about $15,000 total, meant to help me start my adult life. Instead, I found sale receipts. My parents had sold all 3 cars immediately after his funeral and deposited the money into Jessica's savings account for what they called art supplies and educational materials. Lying on that bedroom floor, surrounded by years of systematic theft and deception, my entire understanding of my family crumbled. They hadn't just stolen my financial future. They had actively worked to ensure Jessica received every possible advantage while I struggled alone. The depth of their favoritism went far beyond simple preference. It was calculated financial abuse, designed to benefit one child at the complete expense of the other. The laughter and celebration from downstairs now felt like a cruel mockery. Here I was, discovering my family had been robbing me for years, while they threw an expensive party for Jessica's engagement, using money that should have supported my education and future. The irony was devastating. I had come home hoping for a simple birthday acknowledgement, only to learn that my own family had been systematically undermining my life. I gathered every piece of evidence from that shoebox, my heart hammered with a mixture of rage and heartbreak as I marched downstairs. The living room was packed with about 30 people, all dressed to the nines, champagne glasses clinking. Jessica was the center of attention, flashing her enormous engagement ring to a circle of admiring relatives. My parents glided through the crowd, proud hosts, soaking up congratulations on their daughter's successful match. The contrast between this elaborate celebration and my rejected birthday cake, abandoned on the kitchen counter, filled me with a burning, bitter resentment. I waited until Jessica finished her ring presentation, then I stepped into the center of the room, holding the damning documents high. "I need to talk to all of you about something important," I announced, loud enough to cut through the chatter. The room slowly fell silent. Faces turned to me, various expressions of annoyance and confusion. My mom looked mortified that I was disrupting Jessica's big moment. My dad stepped forward, irritation etched on his face. "Frederick, this is neither the time nor the place for whatever complaint you have. Your sister is celebrating her engagement, and you need to respect that this day is about her happiness." His voice held that tone he'd use with a disobedient child. "Funny you mentioned respect." I shot back, my voice steady, holding up the bank statements. "I just found these documents. They show you transferred my entire college fund to pay for Jessica's art school tuition 3 years ago. You told me that money was lost in bad investments, but here's proof. You deliberately stole $37,000 from my education to pay for hers." A collective murmur went through the crowd as relatives exchanged uneasy glances. Jessica's face flushed crimson, but not from embarrassment. It was pure, unadulterated anger that I was causing a scene. Then my mom spoke. She stepped forward, chin raised defiantly. "No shame, no regret. Frederick, you have always been the independent one in this family. We made decisions that we believed would benefit everyone in the long run. Jessica needed more support because she had greater potential for social and professional success." Her casual admission hit me like a physical blow. She wasn't even trying to deny the theft. Instead, she was justifying it, based on their twisted assessment of our worth. "Greater potential?" I repeated, barely believing my ears. "So, you decided I didn't deserve the money my grandparents saved for my education because you thought Jessica was prettier and more likely to marry well?" My dad nodded, without hesitation, as if this logic was perfectly reasonable. "Jessica has always had natural advantages that you lack. She's more socially gifted, more attractive, and frankly, more likely to achieve the kind of success that reflects well on our family. We invested in the child who could give us the best return on our efforts." The words hung in the air like poison. I watched several relatives shift uncomfortably at this brutal honesty. My own parents had just admitted, in front of their entire extended family, that they considered me an inferior child, unworthy of equal treatment or investment. Return on investment? I asked, my voice rising. I'm your son, not a business decision. And what about these birthday cards from Grandma Rose and Grandpa William? You've been stealing cash gifts addressed to me for years. I held up several opened envelopes. My Grandma Rose gasped, a hand flying to her mouth from across the room. She'd been sending me birthday money faithfully, believing her gifts were reaching me, when they were actually funding Jessica's shopping sprees. Jessica finally spoke, her voice dripping with contempt and superiority. Frederick, you should be grateful we kept you fed and housed all these years. Most families would have kicked out such an ungrateful, selfish person by now. Instead of complaining about ancient history, maybe you should thank us for supporting you through your pathetic warehouse jobs. Her words revealed something even more disturbing than my parents' theft. Jessica not only knew about the stolen money and hidden gifts, she felt entitled to them. In her mind, I should be grateful for the basic care parents owe all children, while she deserved every financial advantage they could provide. Ancient history, I retorted, pulling out my grandfather's letter about the car collection. What about Grandfather Robert's vintage cars that he specifically left to me in this letter? I just found receipts showing you sold them and gave Jessica the $15,000 for art supplies. The room fell completely silent. Several relatives looked genuinely shocked at the sheer scope of my family's deception. Grandma Rose had tears in her eyes, realizing how thoroughly she had been lied to about my character and situation. My mom, Margaret, her composure finally cracked slightly. She saw how bad this looked to their guests. Frederick, you're causing a scene and embarrassing your sister on one of the most important days of her life. If you can't be supportive of this family, then maybe you should leave and figure out your own path forward. Figure out my own path. I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. I've been figuring out my own path for years while you systematically stole every advantage I should have had. You took my education fund, my birthday money, my inheritance, and then told everyone I was the ungrateful one. My dad stepped closer, his face red with anger. That's enough, Frederick. You will not ruin this celebration with your selfish complaints. Apologize to your sister and join this party properly, or get out of this house right now. That ultimatum, it crystallized everything. Even confronted with undeniable proof of their financial abuse and emotional neglect, they were demanding that I apologize and pretend to be grateful. They wanted me to smile and celebrate Jessica's success, a success built partly on money stolen from my future. I looked around the room. Relatives. Some looked sympathetic, but others seemed more concerned about the awkwardness than the injustice I'd suffered. Not a single person spoke up to defend me or question my parents' admissions. The most devastating realization? Jessica's engagement ring probably cost more than all the money they had stolen from me, combined. And they couldn't spare 5 minutes to acknowledge my 24th birthday. I was standing in a room full of people celebrating my sister's happiness, while completely ignoring the systematic abuse that had funded her advantages. You know what? I said finally. My voice was calm, but filled with an iron resolve. You're absolutely right. I should figure out my own path forward, and that path starts with getting as far away from this toxic family as possible. I turned to leave, but Jessica's voice stopped me cold. One final revelation. One more gut punch that would change everything. By the way, Frederick, remember that job interview you had at Brandon's law firm last month? The one you were so excited about. Her voice was laced with a chilling sweetness. I called ahead and told them you had anger management issues and a history of workplace conflicts. I couldn't risk having my embarrassing brother working at my fiance's prestigious firm. The admission hit me like a thunderbolt. That job interview had been my best opportunity for career advancement in years. I'd prepared for weeks, researched the firm, felt so confident. When they rejected me without explanation, I'd spent weeks wondering what I'd done wrong. Now I knew the truth. Jessica had deliberately sabotaged my career prospects to protect her own fragile social standing. She had actively worked to keep me trapped in dead-end jobs while building her own success on stolen money and family connections. I left that confrontation, went straight back to my bedroom, feeling more isolated and betrayed than ever before. Through my window, I could hear the party resuming downstairs, as if nothing had happened. The sounds of laughter felt like salt in fresh wounds, a stark reminder that my family could return to their joy immediately after crushing my spirit. Sitting on my childhood bed, I stared at the evidence of their systematic abuse spread across my comforter. Bank statements, hidden birthday cards, inheritance documents, sale receipts. It painted a picture of years of calculated theft, designed to advantage Jessica while undermining my future. The scope of their deception was breathtaking in its thoroughness and cruelty. What hurt most was the realization that this wasn't accidental favoritism or temporary financial hardship. My parents had made conscious, deliberate decisions to steal from me repeatedly, lying about their actions and portraying me as ungrateful to extended family. They had created a false narrative where I was the problem child, unable to appreciate their sacrifices, when the truth was that I had been systematically robbed of every advantage I should have received. Through my window, I watched guests arriving continuously for Jessica's celebration. Cars filled our driveway, lined the street. Relatives, family friends, social connections, all coming to honor Jessica's achievement. I recognized faces of people who'd known me since childhood, yet none of them had asked about my absence or how I was doing. The more I observed the celebration below, the more I understood how completely my family had erased me from their narrative. These guests believed they were attending a family celebration, but they had no idea one family member was upstairs, nursing wounds from years of abuse and theft. My parents had successfully conditioned everyone to overlook my existence and focus solely on Jessica's accomplishments. Around 11 o'clock, I watched my grandma Rose arrive, with a beautifully wrapped gift and a bright smile. She hugged Jessica warmly, congratulated my parents on raising such a successful daughter. Seeing her genuine happiness and pride made my heart ache, knowing she had been deceived about my character for years. She believed I was the ungrateful grandson who had abandoned the family, when the truth was, I'd been systematically pushed out and robbed. The sight of Grandma Rose celebrating downstairs, believing lies about me, became the final breaking point. I realized that staying in this environment would only lead to more pain, more manipulation. My family had shown they were willing to steal from me, lie about me, sabotage my career prospects to maintain Jessica's advantages. There was no scenario where this dynamic would improve, where I would receive fair treatment. I pulled out my phone and checked my bank account. $837. Not much, but every penny I'd saved from my warehouse job. It was mine, earned through my own labor, untainted by my family's manipulation. I fired up my laptop and started researching bus tickets, job opportunities in distant cities. I needed to get far enough away that my family couldn't interfere, but close enough to major employment centers where I could rebuild. Austin, Texas, caught my eye. Growing tech industry, lower cost of living. As I researched apartments and job listings, my phone buzzed. A text from my old college friend, Alex Chun, who'd moved to Texas after graduation. The timing felt like fate. Hey, Frederick, hope you're doing well. My startup company in Austin is looking for someone with your customer service background. Entry level, but good growth potential. Interested? I stared at that message for several minutes, feeling like the universe was offering me a lifeline exactly when I needed it most. Alex had no idea about my family situation, yet his job offer represented everything I needed: distance from my toxic family, a fresh start, and an opportunity to prove my worth in an environment where I wouldn't be undermined. I immediately replied, very interested. Can you send me details? I'm looking to relocate soon. His response came quickly. Company info, hiring manager contact. The position, customer support for a tech startup called Innovate Tech Solutions, with potential for advancement based on performance. The salary was modest, but enough to support myself while building towards something better. Downstairs, the engagement party reached its peak. Toasts, speeches praising Jessica's beauty, intelligence, bright future. I heard my dad's voice booming through the house, telling guests how proud he was of his daughter's success, how she represented everything wonderful about their family values. The irony was devastating. They were celebrating family values while having systematically abused and stolen from their own son. They praised Jessica's character, knowing full well she had sabotaged my career out of pure selfishness. The disconnect between their public image and private actions revealed the terrifying depth of their hypocrisy. I began packing with methodical determination. Clothes, personal documents, a few sentimental items, my laptop. It all fit easily into 2 duffel bags and a backpack. The material evidence of my 24 years in that house was shockingly minimal, which, somehow, made leaving easier. As I packed, I composed a farewell letter. I wanted them to understand that I knew about all their lies and theft, but I also wanted to maintain some dignity in my exit. The letter was brief, factual, stating that I had discovered their financial abuse, understood their true feelings about my worth, and was leaving to build a life where I wouldn't be sabotaged or stolen from. I placed the letter on my pillow where they would eventually find it, along with copies of all the evidence I had discovered. They needed to know that I was aware, that their manipulation had been exposed. Around midnight, as the party finally wound down and guests began leaving, I loaded my belongings into my beat-up Honda Civic. 12 years old, over 200,000 miles. But it was mine, earned through my own work, untainted by my family's manipulation. I started the engine and took one last look at the house where I had spent my childhood. Lights glowed from the windows. My family was probably cleaning up from Jessica's celebration, discussing what a wonderful evening it had been, how bright her future looked. They had no idea I was disappearing from their lives forever. As I drove away from Millbrook, Ohio, at 12:30 in the morning, I felt a strange mixture of grief and liberation. I was leaving behind everything familiar, venturing into complete uncertainty. But I was also escaping a toxic environment that had been poisoning my life for years. At a gas station on the edge of town, I stopped for coffee. Standing in that fluorescent-lit convenience store, I pulled out my wallet. Inside were a few family photos I always carried. Christmas mornings, summer vacations, birthday celebrations from happier times, when I actually believed my family loved me equally. Without hesitation, I threw those photos into the gas station trash can. They represented a false history, an illusion that had been shattered forever. Getting back into my car, I programmed Austin, Texas, into my GPS and began the 9-hour drive toward my new life. The highway stretched endlessly ahead, dark and uncertain, but for the first time in years, I felt like I was moving toward hope instead of away from it. The drive to Austin took me through the heart of America, past small towns and endless farmland that looked nothing like suburban Ohio. I drove straight through the night, fueled by gas station coffee and the adrenaline of making the biggest decision of my life. When the Austin skyline appeared on the horizon at 8 in the morning, I felt like I was arriving in a completely different world. Alex met me at a downtown diner called Magnolia Cafe. I was struck by how much more confident and successful he looked compared to our college days. He wore a crisp button-down shirt and spoke enthusiastically about Austin's tech startup scene, describing opportunities that seemed impossible from my warehouse job perspective. Innovate Tech Solutions is exactly the kind of place where hard work gets noticed quickly, Alex explained over breakfast tacos. The owner, Diana Martinez, built the company from nothing 5 years ago. She promotes based on results, not politics or connections. If you can solve problems and improve systems, you'll advance faster than you ever could at a traditional corporation. The company occupied the second floor of a converted warehouse in East Austin, exposed brick walls, standing desks, an open layout that felt energetic, collaborative. During my interview with Diana, a sharp-eyed woman in her early 40s, I was honest about my customer service background and my eagerness to learn technical skills. I'm not looking for someone with perfect credentials, Diana told me. I need someone who can think critically, communicate clearly with frustrated customers, and identify patterns in the problems we're solving. Technical skills can be taught, but problem-solving instincts are either there or they aren't. She offered me the position on the spot. A starting salary of $35,000, modest, but enough to cover living expenses. More importantly, she outlined clear advancement opportunities based on performance metrics and skill development. I found a studio apartment in a converted house near the university for $600 a month. Tiny, but clean, with hardwood floors and tall windows. After years of living in my childhood bedroom or cramped shared spaces, having my own place felt like a luxury. The first few months at Innovate Tech were challenging, but exhilarating. I handled customer support calls, troubleshooting technical issues for small businesses using the company's project management software. Within weeks, I started noticing patterns in customer complaints and suggestions that revealed underlying problems with the software's user interface. Instead of just solving individual problems, I began documenting these patterns, proposing systematic improvements. I created detailed reports showing how minor changes could prevent dozens of support calls and boost customer satisfaction. Diana noticed my initiative immediately. Most customer support reps just answer the phone and follow scripts, she told me during my 3-month review. You're thinking like a product developer, identifying root causes instead of just treating symptoms. That's exactly the kind of thinking that builds successful companies. She promoted me to Customer Success Analyst with a raise to $42,000 and gave me additional responsibilities for improving customer retention. The promotion came with my own desk, access to development tools, and opportunities to work directly with the programming team. During this period, I maintained complete silence about my family. I changed my phone number, deleted my social media, and avoided any contact with people from my hometown. Alex knew I'd left Ohio for personal reasons, but I kept the details private, focusing entirely on building my new life. The isolation was sometimes difficult, especially during holidays when coworkers talked about family gatherings. But I reminded myself that my biological family had never provided the support and encouragement I was now receiving from my colleagues. Diana became a mentor, offering career guidance and challenging me to develop skills I never knew I possessed. 6 months into the job, I proposed creating a comprehensive customer relationship management system that would track user behavior, predict potential problems, and automate routine support tasks. The proposal required significant research and technical planning, but I believed it could revolutionize how the company interacted with clients. Working evenings and weekends, I taught myself basic programming languages and database management through online courses and library books. The learning curve was steep, but every small breakthrough felt like validation of my abilities and potential. My breakthrough moment came when a major client complained about recurring billing errors costing them thousands. Instead of offering standard troubleshooting, I analyzed their entire account history and discovered a flaw in our billing system affecting specific payment schedules. I developed a solution that not only fixed their problem, but prevented similar issues for hundreds of other clients. The fix saved the company an estimated $50,000 in potential lost business and support costs. Diana was so impressed that she brought me into a senior leadership meeting to present my findings. Standing in that conference room, explaining technical solutions to executives and programmers, I felt more valued and respected than I ever had in my family home. Frederick has identified a systematic issue that we didn't even know existed, Diana announced to the team. His solution demonstrates the kind of proactive thinking that separates good companies from great ones. This is exactly why we invest in people who show initiative and analytical skills. The company implemented my billing system fix and asked me to lead a broader project reviewing all customer support processes. My role expanded again. Another promotion to junior developer, a salary increase to $58,000. More importantly, I was gaining confidence and technical skills that opened doors to opportunities one had never imagined possible. The warehouse jobs in Ohio had felt like dead ends, but this environment rewarded innovation and hard work with real career growth. Around my first anniversary at Innovate Tech, I learned through mutual acquaintances that Jessica's engagement had ended dramatically. Apparently, Brandon had discovered her secret shopping addiction and credit card debt, totaling $25,000. He broke off the engagement when she couldn't explain how she'd accumulated such massive debt while living rent-free at home. My parents were reportedly struggling to help Jessica pay off her credit cards while dealing with reduced income from my dad's security job. The financial strain of supporting Jessica's lifestyle was causing significant stress in their marriage. Learning about their problems felt strange and distant, like gossip about acquaintances rather than immediate family. I felt no satisfaction in their struggles, but also no urge to return and help. They had made their choices about whose future to invest in, and now they were experiencing the consequences. Instead of dwelling on their situation, I focused on my own continued growth. I enrolled in evening programming classes at Austin Community College and began developing a more sophisticated customer service automation platform that could potentially serve businesses beyond Innovate Tech. Every problem I solved, every skill I developed, felt like building towards something meaningful and sustainable, rather than just earning a paycheck. By the end of my first year in Austin, my net worth had grown to nearly $15,000 through careful saving and budgeting. More importantly, I had developed a professional network technical skills, and a career trajectory that promised continued advancement based on merit, not family connections or political maneuvering. The transformation from warehouse worker to technology professional happened faster than I had ever imagined possible. In Austin, I was judged solely on my abilities and contributions, which was all I had ever wanted from my family. During my second year at Innovate Tech, my customer service automation project evolved into something much larger. The system I developed could analyze customer interactions across multiple channels, predict support needs before problems occurred, and automatically resolve common issues. The breakthrough came when I realized that small businesses across multiple industries faced identical customer service challenges but lacked the resources for sophisticated solutions. My platform could be adapted to serve restaurants, retail stores, professional services, online businesses, with minimal customization. I spent 6 months refining the software in my spare time, testing it with local Austin businesses who agreed to pilot the system for free. The results were extraordinary. Participating businesses reduced customer service costs by an average of 40% while improving satisfaction scores. Word spread through Austin's tight-knit small business community, and I began receiving inquiries from companies across Texas. The demand was far beyond what I could handle as a side project. Diana noticed my distraction and growing excitement. Rather than being concerned about potential competition, she encouraged me to pursue the opportunity, offering to provide mentorship. "Frederick, you've identified a genuine market need and created a solution that could benefit thousands of businesses," she told me. "Innovate Tech will always have a place for you, but entrepreneurship might be your true calling. If you decide to start your own company, I'll support you however I can." Her encouragement gave me the confidence to research business formation, intellectual property protection, and funding options. The learning curve was intimidating, but every challenge felt manageable compared to the emotional abuse and financial theft I had overcome. Through Austin's entrepreneurship network, I met Rachel Chun, a venture capitalist who specialized in early-stage tech companies. During our first meeting at a downtown coffee shop, I demonstrated my platform. Rachel immediately grasped the potential market size. Small businesses spend billions annually on customer service that could be automated or streamlined, she explained. Your platform addresses genuine pain points with measurable cost savings. The scalability is enormous. She offered to invest $200,000 for a 20% equity stake, contingent on my commitment to leave Innovate Tech and focus full-time on building the company. The investment would cover software development, marketing, legal expenses, and 18 months of operating costs. The decision to leave my stable job and pursue entrepreneurship felt terrifying and exhilarating simultaneously. I had spent 2 years building security and professional credibility, but this opportunity represented everything I had hoped to achieve through hard work and innovation. I gave Diana 6 weeks' notice. She was genuinely excited and offered to serve as an advisor. "You're making the right decision," Diana assured me. "I've watched you grow from customer support rep to innovative developer in record time. Your work ethic and problem-solving skills will make this business successful." I named my company Connect Flow and set up offices in a shared workspace downtown. My first major decision was hiring Diana as Chief Operating Officer. Her business experience complemented my technical skills perfectly. The early months were intense, demanding 12-hour days, constant problem-solving. But every challenge felt purposeful because I was building something that belonged to me, reflected my vision. Our first major client was a regional restaurant chain. They implemented Connect Flow to handle reservations, complaints, feedback. Within 3 months, they reduced customer service labor costs by 38% while improving online review scores. That success story provided credibility and referrals that accelerated our growth exponentially. Local business magazines featured Connect Flow. By the end of our first year, we had 47 active business clients and generated over $1 million in revenue. My personal net worth reached $300,000. More importantly, I had proven to myself that my family's assessment of my potential was completely wrong. They had believed Jessica was more likely to achieve success because of her social advantages. But I had built a profitable company based on intelligence, creativity, and determination. During this period, I occasionally heard updates about my family through mutual connections in Ohio. Jessica had moved back home after her broken engagement, struggling to find employment that matched her art degree. My parents' marriage was strained due to financial pressure. My dad had lost his middle management position and was working temporary assignments that paid significantly less. My mom's part-time retail job barely covered basic household expenses, and they were behind on mortgage payments. The contrast between my success and their struggles was striking, but I felt no desire to gloat or seek revenge. Instead, I focused on building ConnectFlow. The most satisfying aspect of my success was earning respect and recognition based entirely on merit. My clients valued ConnectFlow because it solved their problems, not because of family connections. This validation meant more to me than any amount of money. Rachel's investment was based on her confidence in my abilities. Diana joined my company because she believed in my vision. This network of professional relationships, built on mutual respect, felt more valuable than the family connections I had lost. I was finally surrounded by people who appreciated my contributions. The transformation of ConnectFlow from startup to established business happened faster than I ever imagined. During our second year, we expanded to over 200 businesses across 7 states. Our revenue grew to $4 million annually, and the company employed 15 people. My personal breakthrough came when Tech Global Industries, a major corporation, approached us about acquiring ConnectFlow. Their executives had been monitoring our growth. The acquisition negotiation lasted 3 months. The final offer was $12 million for complete ownership, with additional performance bonuses. After consulting with Rachel and Diana, I accepted the deal, which would give me $8 million after taxes, investor payments, and employee bonuses. Signing those acquisition papers felt surreal and overwhelming. 3 years earlier, I had left my family home with $800 and a beat-up Honda Civic. Now, I was a millionaire at 27 years old, with more financial security than I had ever thought possible. The first thing I did with my newfound wealth was purchase a luxury penthouse apartment in downtown Austin, with panoramic city views and high-end amenities. It was 10 times larger than my original studio. I also bought a Tesla Model S and began traveling internationally for both business and pleasure. Visiting London, Tokyo, Sydney, it opened my perspective on global markets, providing experiences I had only dreamed about during my warehouse worker days. The acquisition made local business news, with Austin magazines featuring my story. These publications were apparently discovered by people in my hometown, because my family began learning about my success and attempting to re-establish contact. The first approach came through social media, where Jessica created multiple fake accounts to send me messages. She claimed she had grown and matured, that she missed our relationship and regretted the misunderstandings that had driven us apart. Her messages were carefully crafted to sound remorseful and loving. But what Jessica didn't realize was that her messages revealed her continued manipulation and self-centeredness. She described our conflicts as misunderstandings rather than acknowledging her role in sabotaging my career or supporting our parents' financial abuse. Her apologies focused on how bad she felt, rather than recognizing the actual harm she had caused. My mom, Margaret's approach, was more direct but equally manipulative. She started leaving voicemails on my business phone number, which she'd gotten through public records. Her messages claimed she had always believed in my potential, and that our family conflicts were based on communication problems that could be resolved. Margaret's revisionist history was breathtaking. She portrayed herself as a loving mother who had always supported my ambitions, conveniently forgetting her admission that she considered Jessica more worthy of investment. The voicemails made no mention of stolen birthday money, transferred college funds, or deliberate career sabotage. My dad, Thomas, took a professional approach, reaching out through LinkedIn. He praised my business accomplishments, suggesting we should reconnect as successful adults who had overcome youthful disagreements. His messages positioned our conflicts as normal family tensions that naturally resolved as people matured. The coordinated nature of their outreach revealed they had developed a strategy for winning me back, probably motivated by their own financial struggles and knowledge of my newfound wealth. Their messages arrived within weeks of each other, all using similar language about growth, forgiveness, and family bonds. I saved every message and voicemail, but responded to none of them. Their sudden interest coincided suspiciously with learning about my financial success, suggesting their motivations were more practical than emotional. Through my network in Ohio, I learned more details about their deteriorating situation. Jessica's credit card debt had grown to over $30,000 as she continued spending money she didn't have, living unemployed at home. She struggled to find employers willing to hire someone with an expensive art degree and no practical work experience. My parents' financial problems worsened. Thomas had been unemployed for 6 months, and Margaret's retail job provided barely enough income. They were facing foreclosure. The irony was obvious, but not satisfying. They had spent years investing everything in Jessica's success, yet her advantages had produced no meaningful career or financial stability. Meanwhile, the son they had written off had achieved more success than any of them had ever imagined possible. Their desperation became more apparent. Margaret's voicemails grew longer, more emotional, describing health problems and financial stress. Jessica's messages became more frequent, sharing memories of childhood moments when we had gotten along. Thomas started sending newspaper clippings about my business success, along with handwritten notes expressing pride. The notes carefully avoided mentioning our conflicts, while emphasizing his role in shaping my work ethic and determination. The most manipulative approach came when they involved my grandma Rose, who called my office claiming she was dying and wanted to see me. The call was clearly orchestrated by my parents, representing a new low in their willingness to exploit family relationships for financial gain. I verified through other relatives that Grandma Rose was in good health. Learning they were willing to fake her death to manipulate me confirmed their outreach was entirely self-serving. Their desperation revealed the complete failure of their family investment strategy. They had stolen from me to support Jessica's education and social advantages, yet she had produced no return. Her broken engagement, unemployment, and mounting debt proved that attractiveness and social connections meant nothing without work ethic and practical skills. Meanwhile, the son they had dismissed as less worthy had built a multi-million-dollar business through intelligence, determination, and ethical behavior. My success had been achieved despite their sabotage, not because of their support, proving their assessment of my potential had been completely wrong. As their financial situation continued deteriorating and their outreach became more desperate, I realized they were finally experiencing consequences for years of favoritism and abuse. Justice was being served, not through any action on my part, but through the natural results of their own choices and character flaws. 2 years after the acquisition of ConnectFlow, I made a decision that would close the most painful chapter of my life forever. My family's financial situation had reached a crisis point, with foreclosure proceedings and mounting medical bills creating genuine hardship that extended beyond my immediate parents and sister. I had been monitoring their situation through mutual acquaintances and occasional Google searches, maintaining awareness without direct contact. The information I gathered painted a picture of people who were finally experiencing the consequences of years of poor decisions and character flaws. My father, Thomas, had been diagnosed with a serious heart condition requiring expensive treatment. Medical bills were pushing them toward bankruptcy. Jessica herself had become increasingly isolated and depressed as her debt grew and employment prospects dwindled. The situation came to a head when I received a desperate letter from my grandma Rose, who had finally learned the truth about our family conflicts. The letter was heartbreaking in its honesty and shame. "Frederick, I am so ashamed of how I treated you at Jessica's engagement party," Grandma Rose wrote in shaky handwriting. "Your parents told me you had become selfish and ungrateful, that you refused to help family. I believed them because I trusted their word about their own children. Now I know they were lying to cover up their own terrible behavior toward you." She explained that other relatives had gradually revealed pieces of the truth: my stolen college fund, hidden birthday gifts, the systematic favoritism. The full picture of my parents' financial abuse had finally become clear to extended family members. "I understand why you left and why you haven't returned," her letter continued. "But I also know that you are a good person with a kind heart despite everything they did to you. Your grandfather Robert would be so proud of the man you became, and he would want you to show mercy to people who need help, even if they don't deserve it." Reading that letter in my Austin penthouse, surrounded by the success I had built through my own efforts, I felt a complex mixture of vindication and sadness. My grandmother's acknowledgement of the truth validated everything I had experienced, but it also highlighted the immense cost of my family's dysfunction. I decided to return to Millbrook for the first time in 4 years, driving my Tesla through familiar streets that looked smaller and shabbier than I remembered. The town seemed frozen in time, while I had grown and changed beyond recognition. My childhood home showed obvious signs of financial distress: overgrown lawn, peeling paint, a "For sale" sign prominently displayed. The house that had once represented stability now looked like a symbol of decline and failure. I drove to Murphy's Diner downtown, knowing it was a place where I might encounter family members or old acquaintances. Sure enough, my Grandma Rose was having coffee with two other elderly women when I walked through the door. Her face showed shock and then joy when she recognized me. "Frederick, oh my goodness, look at you," she said, rising carefully from her booth to embrace me. The other women stared openly as Grandma Rose introduced me as her successful grandson who owned a technology company in Texas. We sat together while she apologized repeatedly for believing my parents' lies and treating me poorly. Her remorse was genuine and painful to witness, and I assured her that I understood she had been deceived by people she trusted. "They told everyone you abandoned the family without explanation," Grandma Rose explained. "We thought you were selfish and ungrateful. We didn't know about the money they took from you or how badly they treated you." Our conversation was interrupted when my parents and Jessica entered the diner, having heard through small-town networks that I was back in Millbrook. Their appearance was shocking in its deterioration from the confident, well-dressed people I remembered. Thomas looked significantly older and thinner, his face gray with illness and stress. Margaret appeared worn down by financial worry. Jessica seemed the most changed, having lost the vibrant confidence that had once defined her. They approached our table hesitantly, unsure of their reception, but desperate enough to risk public rejection. The other diners watched with obvious curiosity as this family drama unfolded. "Frederick," my mother began carefully, "we've been hoping to talk with you. We know there were problems in the past, but we want to make things right between us." The word "problems" was such a massive understatement that I almost laughed. Their systematic theft and emotional abuse had been reduced to problems that could be resolved through conversation and goodwill. "Making things right would require acknowledging what actually happened," I replied calmly. "Are you prepared to admit that you stole my college fund, hid my birthday gifts, sold my inheritance, and sabotaged my career prospects to benefit Jessica?" The directness of my question clearly shocked them, but they were too desperate to retreat. Thomas nodded reluctantly, while Margaret looked uncomfortable with my specific accusations. "We made mistakes in how we handled family finances," Thomas admitted carefully. "We thought we were making decisions that would benefit everyone in the long run, but we realize now that we hurt you unfairly." Jessica remained silent, staring at the table. Her inability to contribute suggested she felt no genuine remorse for her role. "The money isn't really the issue anymore," I explained. "I've been financially successful despite your sabotage, not because of your support. What matters is whether you understand why your behavior was wrong, and whether you're capable of treating people differently in the future." I looked directly at Jessica, who finally met my eyes with a mixture of shame and defiance. "Do you understand that sabotaging my job interview was cruel and destructive? Do you recognize that your actions were designed to keep me from succeeding while you advanced through stolen advantages?" Jessica's response was barely audible. "I was scared that having you at Brandon's firm would embarrass me. I know it was wrong, but I was protecting my relationship." Her answer revealed that she still didn't understand the fundamental ethics of what she had done. She was sorry for the consequences, but not for the thought process that led her to sabotage her own brother's career. Despite their imperfect understanding of their past behavior, I realized that they were finally experiencing genuine hardship that had stripped away their arrogance and entitlement. The natural consequences of their choices had taught them lessons that my arguments never could. "I'm willing to help with Dad's medical bills and prevent you from losing the house," I announced, causing visible relief to wash over their faces. "But there will be conditions that must be met before and during any financial assistance." I outlined my requirements. They would attend family counseling to address their dysfunction and favoritism. They would publicly acknowledge their past mistreatment to extended family members who had been deceived. They would commit to treating all family members with equal respect and consideration. Additionally, Jessica would be required to find employment within 6 months and begin paying down her credit card debt through her own labor. My assistance would cover emergency medical and housing costs. but would not subsidize continued unemployment or irresponsible spending. Most importantly, I concluded, you need to understand that this assistance is based on mercy, not obligation. I owe you nothing after years of abuse and theft. I'm helping because I choose to show compassion, but I expect accountability and genuine change in return. The conditions were challenging, but fair, requiring them to address the root causes of their dysfunction rather than simply accepting financial rescue. Their willingness to meet these requirements would demonstrate whether they were capable of growth and change. For the following months, my family slowly began meeting the conditions. They attended counseling sessions that forced them to confront their patterns of favoritism. Extended family members learned the truth. Jessica found employment at a local marketing firm and began paying down her debt. The work was challenging, but it provided her with independence and self-respect. My parents' attitude toward me changed fundamentally as they recognized that my success was self-made. They began treating me with respect and appreciation instead of the dismissive tolerance I had experienced throughout my childhood. The transformation wasn't complete or perfect, but it represented genuine progress toward healthier family dynamics. More importantly, I learned that my greatest success wasn't financial wealth, but the emotional maturity to forgive people who had wronged me while still protecting myself from future abuse. My story taught me that family relationships must be built on mutual respect and genuine care, not genetic connections or social expectations. True success, I realized, means having the strength to walk away from toxic situations, the wisdom to build something better through your own efforts, and the compassion to extend mercy when it's deserved. The revenge I had once imagined never materialized because it became unnecessary. The natural consequences of their choices provided more justice than any action I could have taken, while my success proved that their assessment of my worth had been completely wrong. Looking back, leaving my family was the most difficult and most important decision of my life. It required tremendous courage to walk away from everything familiar and rebuild my entire existence around different values and relationships. But that decision led to experiences and achievements I never could have imagined while trapped in their toxic dynamic. Building Connect Flow, earning millions of dollars, and creating genuine professional relationships taught me lessons about my own capabilities that transformed how I saw myself and my potential. The most valuable lesson I learned was that your past doesn't determine your future unless you allow it to. People who underestimate you are providing an opportunity to prove them wrong through your actions and achievements. The greatest gift you can give yourself is the freedom to become who you're meant to be, regardless of other people's limitations or expectations. My 24th birthday began with rejection and a grocery store cake, but it ended with the first steps toward a life of independence and success. Sometimes the worst moments in our lives are actually doorways to our greatest achievements, if we have the courage to walk through them. Everyone listening who has felt undervalued or overlooked by the people closest to them. Your worth isn't determined by their opinions or treatment. You have the power to build something better through your own efforts, and the family you create through genuine relationships will be more valuable than any connection based on blood alone.